please welcome the Chief Financial Officer of Vacasa, Jamie Cohen, and the President and Chief Operating Officer of Guesty, Raviv Schwarz, in conversation with Skift Senior Research Analyst, Wouter Geerts.
Hi, Jamie. Hi, Vered. Thanks very much for joining us today. Like Aisha said already, let's talk a little bit about tech. Although I want to talk a little bit about some other stuff first. Jamie, you joined Vacasa, obviously one of the largest property manager in the world, probably. At the beginning of this year, you had a long career at NG Home Services. Many are calling this a sign of a pending IPO. Can you give us a quick insight into sort of what was the brief when you came into the job?
Yeah, thanks, Wouter, for having me. And I joined Vacasa officially March 1st. Extraordinarily excited about Vacasa, the vacation rental industry. And we're very focused on execution right now. There's so much opportunity from a growth perspective, from a technology perspective, which we'll get into. And so that's the primary goal right now. But definitely, something that we're thinking about, obviously, given my background.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you mentioned growth there. I think we have two of the, I guess I can say the most prolific acquirers of the short-term rental industry here today. I just want to stay with you, Jamie, for a second. I mean, you announced basically on your day of starting, then I guess, or somewhere around that, a major deal with Turnkey. You're adding 6,000 properties, I believe, to your portfolio. I mean, what is it that you saw in Turnkey? Is it market expansion? Is it IPO preparation, or is there something else that you sort of see in that business?
Yeah, Turnkey is extraordinarily strategic and really complementary for both, Vacasa and Turnkey to come together. So both companies that, started in end-to-end vacation rental management, wanting to make, a great technology-enabled experience for the hosts as well as the owners. We have some overlap in terms of, our geographic footprint, which helps us from an operational density perspective. But we also now have the ability to take the best of both platforms and best of each as we bring the two companies together and combine. So we can take, all of the smart home technology and focus that Turnkey has built and pull that onto the Vacasa platform, and likewise have the Turnkey units benefit from all of the proprietary pricing and AI-driven yield management algorithms that Vacasa has built over time.
Interesting. Let's dive into that a little bit more in a second. I just want to introduce Vered as well, President CEO of Guesty, probably the largest property management system in the space. I mean, like I said before, you've made some interesting acquisitions as well, obviously. Can you just give us a quick word? I think the biggest one that hit the airwaves as of late was MyVR, another property management system. Can you give us a quick insight into why you moved on them?
Sure, and great to be here with you today. Thank you for having me. As you've mentioned, we've done two acquisitions in the past couple of months. The first was MyVR, a leading PMS property management software in the US. Everybody in our industry felt that the US has recovered fairly quickly from the hit of COVID-19. We saw a great and very compelling partner in the US, our major market, to really broaden our offering to our North American customers and broaden the offering of our property management solutions in general. And we've also added Your Porter, a smaller company in the Netherlands, catering mostly to European customers, and also focused on what we call the long tail, the small host of up to 5 properties. A persona we currently do not serve at Guesty or at MyVR, but we are expanding into as well. So we can really provide an end-to-end solution for all types of property managers.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting. What are you seeing in the long tail that sort of made you decide to push into that area?
First of all, I think that the short-term rental industry has changed a lot during the past year. Of course, the couple of years, but definitely during COVID, The industry have shown resilience and growth and innovation. We feel that there is more professionalism in the space. A lot of the companies and property managers use this time to understand how to cater to a larger audience, how to automate processes and be more efficient, how to use the fact that everybody's looking for touchless experiences at the moment, and technology, of course, is an innovator helping them make those changes. And as a result of that, we can offer more to many types of property managers, big and small, and offer them more professional tools that they have not considered maybe a year ago.
Interesting. I mean, I guess we're making the distinction between like the large property managers and the smaller long tail hosts. I guess we can also make a distinction between urban rentals and non-urban rentals, as I've done in the presentation earlier, and we just heard from Sonder, which is obviously very focused on sort of professionalizing the urban market. Jamie, I guess Vacasa is much more focused on the traditional vacation rental destinations, right? So are you seeing professionalization coming there as well? Is it speeding up due to the pandemic or slowing down? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think that professionalization, and there are just higher expectations as we've moved from the short-term rental industry being alternative to being mainstream. And so you have people who are used to using, apps like Uber, and the instant, gratification and have an expectation for what the level of service is. So I think it's really exciting and is going to spur a lot of innovation. And, we did a survey with Skift, and the first thing that guests want is the ease of booking. And that was during the pandemic, above even, safety and security and cleanliness. So it's extraordinarily important for technology to, be the backbone, I think, of the experience on both the guest as well as the homeowner side.
Interesting. You talked about operational density before as well. I mean, I know that Vacasa has always sort of had a preference of building a lot of your tech yourself. And I know you're probably buying certain things, but I mean, can you provide us with a little bit of like sort of the considerations that go around what do we build ourselves and what do we buy in from third parties maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Big part of my job is to figure out capital allocation and how we want to spend our money. And so ultimately, I think it comes down to purpose-built tech. And so ultimately, where we want to invest in proprietary technology is where it brings a competitive advantage for us, heightens the owner experience, heightens the guest experience in a way that, an off-the-shelf product just isn't tailored to the needs of, Vacasa or our customer base. On the flip side, there are areas where there are companies that have built great, software that we can take advantage of. So we're not security experts. We should definitely, leverage, security and, Microsoft Suite and Google Docs and, even some CRM type systems, where, it's not necessarily specific to our industry. So we really try to focus on, building out the, yield management algorithms, the operational efficiencies, and the things that really benefit our owners and our guests.
Yeah, and Vered, as a third party player, I know that you're a proponent of obviously managers figuring out what system they would buy and which systems they should build themselves, right? But can you talk a little bit to what you've seen sort of in this crisis? Has technology uptake really slowed down, or have managers used this to sort of retool and really shop around? What have you been seeing?
So to be honest, originally when COVID hit, we were concerned that property managers would not have the time to look into technology solutions, but we found out that quite the opposite was correct. A lot of them used the time to think how to professionalize, how to be more efficient, how to scale during the pandemic when they had more time to think about it and plan out their operations. And as Jamie mentioned, we don't expect, we do expect the small host not to invest in technology at all, probably, but the large host, the enterprise grade property managers, we still expect them to use third-party technology for things that do not make sense to develop on their own, that are very generic, that we've developed for thousands of customers, and they can utilize them and use our 100 people R&D team in-house instead of using their resources to things that do not really differentiate them from other property managers. We do recommend to build on top of our solutions to really make that differentiation, to think of your specific customer experience, for example. That would make sense to develop on your own. But a lot of it actually makes sense to use systems that are already out there and are best of breed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. There's a question from the audience, and I think it sort of, we can weave it all into one question to you, Jamie, where there's obviously you're a big player, you're consolidating the market a lot. How are you dealing with small companies, putting them into one large company, making sure that you keep that sort of local relevance there, and sort of making sure that showing that a large player like you has some sort of benefit over a small local manager with knowledge of the market and local suppliers lined up and stuff like that?
Absolutely. So a huge, differentiation for us is that we do have people on the ground in every single market. So we have general managers, we have operations folks. And I think that that's a big factor that's important to homeowners and guests, that we do have on the ground presence. And, whether we're, going through our individual sales channel and adding homes, or doing, portfolio ads, as you were saying, we try to maintain the local operations. If we do, a portfolio addition where we actually, we really want to retain the employees, the knowledge and the relationships that they've built with the homeowners, that's really important to us. So while, Vacasa is a company that has national scale, we also are, at that micro local level and building relationships in, every single city. And that's critical for us.
Yeah. And I just want to touch upon another point that you mentioned earlier, which was the survey that you did, and how important, obviously, the booking experience is. When we talk about booking technology in the space, obviously Airbnb comes up right away. I know that Airbnb has sort of moved into the management of rental space. They bought a company called Lucky in France. I mean, I don't think it makes any big waves when it comes to their bottom line, but can you see a future where sort of the major platforms will move into property management more and sort of use their tech background?
I think they're primarily focused on getting more hosts and more supply onto their platform, which we're a fantastic partner and uniquely positioned to help them do that. We have exclusive supply, control of the calendar across all of our 30,000 properties and growing. And that's really important because we can have, high quality inventory that has a lot of availability and posts on those sites. I think, we are different in that we offer end-to-end management. So it's, all the way from, reservation and booking, through payment, through, confirmation with the reservation or any, issues that the customer has, cleaning the unit, any maintenance or operations. So, I mean, it's pretty hands-on, right? And there's a lot of nuance and a lot of knowledge that's needed. So I think that, we're in a great position, and I think our partnership with, the booking channels will continue to flourish.
Sounds like a warning, Jamie, to the booking platforms. I mean, Vered, I suppose same question to you. I mean, especially when you mentioned your porter and moving into the long tail, Airbnb has some pricing and availability tools already built in. I know that Expedia had some tools. I mean, they've actually, I think, shut down Pillow and Apartment Jet, but they've obviously gone more into the management tech side of things as well, or try to. I mean, what are you seeing there? Will this grow in the future? How are you differentiating from what platforms are offering?
I don't really see the booking channels trying to be the property management software or the property manager. There is this lovely food chain. We're all partners. We're all helping each other grow. And I think the beauty is that each of us really focuses on the area where they specialize in. We specialize in technology that allows our customers to streamline their operations, be more effective, more efficient, get better occupancy and manage their distribution better, whether it's on 1, 2, or 3 channels or their own booking site as well, which is also available on Guesty. Our partners from the booking channels know that. We collaborate with them. They know that if our customers are more efficient and effective, they'll have more business and create more business for the booking channels, and vice versa. So I believe every player in our ecosystem knows exactly what they're focused on and how they collaborate with each other. And we saw it beautifully during the past year, which was very challenging to our industry. And the industry really got together and thought, how can we help each other? What can we do to really cater to a broader audience? How can we, for example, serve extended booking windows with more digital nomads looking for longer stays? Airbnb, for example, pushed extended stays as early as April of last year, and we were very fast to react and support it so our customers can utilize that tool. And that's just one example, but I think it's really everyone working together to create more business and robustness for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned obviously changing consumers, consumer base. Aisha mentioned it before our talk as well, as an introduction, looking at consumer-facing technology. I think it's an interesting question, right? Rentals, I think we would all agree, have sort of moved a bit more into the mainstream. It's definitely, the pandemic has changed how people behave at home, how they interact with e-commerce and things like that. Many hotel guests that probably before would only stay in hotels are now using rentals all of a sudden. I mean, Jamie, how has that changed what you sort of offer in terms of technology in your rentals and before that in terms of the booking process, or has it not actually changed anything?
I think it's just a really exciting, trend that we're seeing in terms of, it becoming more mainstream. But, during the pandemic, we saw that 20% of guests were new to vacation rentals, to your point. So, they were coming from hotels. And we're also seeing that there are new demographics growing at a rapid rate in terms of, who's staying. So our core is in the 25 to 44-year-old range, but we actually saw the largest growth coming from 45 to 64. So I think that's really exciting that, across many industries throughout the pandemic, you saw an older generation start to adopt technologies and really lean into, internet, e-commerce, and using tools like Vacasa to book online and enable their stay. So I think it's an exciting trend, and one that will, have us all continue to push on the innovation side.
Interesting. Cruise lines stop and all the older people go into I just want to call up the poll right before we have about 2 minutes left. I basically have one more question, and it's basically what is sort of what you think is the most exciting thing happening in the industry at the moment. I don't know if we have the poll. I asked whether the audience expects to see more consolidation in terms of technology, but it might be too late into the session to show it. So, I mean, very quickly, 30 seconds, one each. What is the sort of the most exciting thing happening in the industry at the moment? And don't tell me that growth is up. I mean, tell me something exciting. Jamie, you want to go first, or Vered? Go ahead.
Sure. Go ahead, Vered.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it earlier, but I think this pandemic actually really helped us get short-term rentals mainstream. It's no longer alternative accommodation. I always say it's no longer the stepsister of the hotel industry. It's actually front and center of our industry, with a lot of new personas leaning into this industry. And with technology, we've been able to professionalize it and make it more consistent and more trustworthy, so more and more people can really opt into this opportunity.
Jamie?
Yeah, I'd add, I think what's exciting is that you're seeing on both sides of the equation, both from homeowners as well as guests, that there's a lot of growth. So more second homeowners are wanting to rent out their property and have additional income. There's more use cases for guests to use the property, whether that's for remote work or short weekend getaways or longer vacations. And I think that all of this kind of culminates in just, improvement to the industry, more innovation. And I think you also are just seeing, across many industries, this shift from do it yourself to do it for me. And I think that increases guest expectations for what they expect out of an experience. And so while we're able to maintain the uniqueness of all these variety of properties, which is so unique to the short-term rental industry, we also can have some standardization in terms of what guests can expect for the quality of their stay, the responsiveness around service and cleanliness, which I think is really, professionalizing the industry and exciting.
Great. I mean, great times ahead, I think, for rentals as well as for the tech space. So thanks very much both for your time today. 20 minutes fly by, but really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Wouter.